Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the character of Sherlock Holmes and what makes Sherlock Holmes such a great uh, detective fiction character. And he kind of provides something called the Holmesian art of deduction. And it's his most apparent strength in the Sherlock Holmes character in his ability to draw large conclusions from the smallest of observations and details. He has kind of a bohemian aspect to his lifestyle and personality. He has a deep understanding of human emotion and behavior. He has an inability to empathize. This is one pretty straight-laced character. He has the ability to block out useless information. In his real name in fiction was actually William Sherlock Scott Holmes, and he is the world's only consulting detective, a profession he created for himself. Originally, he was going to be called Sharonford. The name was altered to Sherlock, possibly because of a cricketer who bore the name. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, who created Holmes, was a fan of cricket, and the name Sherlock appears to have stuck in his memory. By the way, Sherlock is actually a girl's name. Sherlock Holmes is a fictional detective, referred to himself as a consulting detective in the stories. Holmes is known for his proficiency with observation, deduction, forensic science, and logical reasoning that borders on the fantastic, which he employs when investigating cases for a wide variety of clients, including Scotland Yard. It's not clear if Sherlock is rich, but he will need a decent after-tax income to live his lifestyle in modern London in 2016. That would cost approximately $10,000 American per month to live on his own, or about $7,000 a month living with Watson. He's in the high-end rent district. Details of Sherlock's life in Conan Doyle's stories are scarce and often vague. Nevertheless, mentions of his early life and extended family paint a loose biographical picture of the detective. A statement of Holmes's age places his birth year at 1854. His parents are not mentioned, though his ancestors were country squires, and he claims that his grandmother was sister to the French artist Varney. Holmes' brother, Mycroft, 7 years his senior, is a government official. Sherlock describes his brother as the more intelligent of the two, but notes that Mycroft lacks any interest in physical investigation, preferring to spend his time at the Diogenes Club. Some Sherlockians to conjecture that he and Mycroft were orphaned young. Mycroft is apparently the only person allowed to disparage Sherlock's talents without arousing his temper. That older brother gets to say. Holmes says that he first developed his methods of deduction as an undergraduate. A meeting with a classmate's father led him to adopt detection as a profession. In his study in Scarlet, which we're getting to, Watson has just returned from Afghanistan as a wounded military officer. He's looking for a place to rent through a character named Stanford, a past classmate of Dr. Watson, who he meets in a bar. He is introduced to Sherlock Holmes. Watson, initially in the beginning, doesn't quite know what Sherlock does for a profession. And in the study in Scarlet, within the first probably 5 pages, Watson makes a list of Sherlock Holmes' strengths and weaknesses. So this is what Watson has to say about Sherlock Holmes. He knows nothing about literature, not much about philosophy, not much about astronomy. Watson even has to tell Sherlock Holmes that the Earth revolves around the sun, and Watson's surprised, you don't even know that. And Sherlock says, it's useless information. It has nothing to do with where I'm going or what I need. So thanks for the info, but I will quickly discard it. Watson goes further to say he is feeble in his knowledge of politics. In botany, he's well up on belladonna, opium, and poisons generally, but he knows nothing of practical gardening. He has a very practical but limited knowledge of geology, although he knows by the color of the soil where in London the soil comes from. He has a profound knowledge of chemistry. He has an accurate but unsystematic knowledge of anatomy. And he has an immense knowledge of sensational literature and appears to know every detail of every horror perpetrated in the last century. He plays the violin well. He's an expert single-stick player, boxer, and swordsman. And he has a good practical knowledge of British law. His IQ is estimated to be about 190. Einstein's IQ was estimated to be about 165. It is clear from references to the university in The Adventures of the Glorious Scot and The Adventure of the Musgrave Ritual, and to some degree The Adventure of the Three Students, that Holmes attended either Oxford or Cambridge University, although the question of which one remains a topic of eternal debate. In his last bow, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle mentions that Holmes retired to a small farm on the Downs 5 miles from Eastbourne where he was living the life of a hermit among his bees and books. Located along South Downs Way is the tiny village of East Dean, where a cottage is memorialized as Sherlock Holmes' retirement home. Okay, so got a kind of a general background, a little bit about our man Sherlock, and we will go to the next slide from here.